Ruby Franke was recently sentenced, and she gave a speech, I guess you could say, that was giving more award acceptance rather than I'm sorry, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the, well, I guess the sofa's not there now, is it? We are in Boone, North Carolina in the mountains. So welcome back to the mountains, I guess you could say, since the last time I filmed here, which was a couple of years ago. Now I will say Mr. Roscoe is not present today. He's being babysat because he's too old to travel at this point. We do miss him and he'll be back here soon. Now today we're going to be talking about Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt's sentencing. This happened at this point probably several days ago. We did a live chat about it, but I haven't gone back over and like kind of done my little version of it for this channel here and like gone back over it, really thought about it, you know. So the way this video will work, the structure of it is we're going to watch some clips from the sentencing and I'm just going to go over my thoughts and whatnot on it. So that being said, there will be commentary, that type of stuff. Now, if you want to follow me and Roscoe, he's our mascot if you're new here. He's usually on a sofa behind me, but you know, he's not here right this second. But anyway, if you want to follow Roscoe and I on Instagram, go on, click it. It's in the description. It's on your screen. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and jump into it, but let's talk very quickly about how we arrived at this video. So Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt, they were essentially business partners at one point, although Ruby will say she didn't get money from Jodi. One of Ruby's children escaped from Jodi's home, ran to a neighbor's looking for help, and this unearthed a huge scandal and eye-opener situation of abuse and whatnot going on. They were eventually arrested, and now they are being sentenced separately for that. That's a very quick 60-second overview of the case. So, like I said, this is going to be separate sentencings. We'll do Ruby first, we'll do Jodi second. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, look, right from the very start, her lawyer, Ruby's lawyer, sets everything up so that we know she's remorseful and that she was not in her right mind and that mean old Jodi sent her down this wrong path.
In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive.
Now, he will say that she accepts responsibility for her actions, for her choices, and that she's used her time while in jail to kind of like unravel the teachings of this unscrupulous individual, Jodi Hildebrandt. Now, he will say that she's a delightful, wonderful person, and then she'll take the mic to make her statement. And whoa, does she?
I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence.
Immediately no. Immediately no. The fact that she adds that on to the end of it without any intention to change my stipulated sentence. Now remember, they're going in here, they basically know that the deals have been reached, they know what's going to happen. So this is like a formality going in. But that's the other part of it. She knows this, so there's this level of ownership that she takes, which is good on one hand, but there's something grimy, there's something manipulative, there's something gaslighty about the things that we're going to get into with her statement. And it starts off here, I'm not trying to change that. Well, we know that, right? You know, but glad you said that. So I just find it interesting. So let's go ahead and get into the next part.
For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me.
One thing I wonder with this is if she actually believes the things that she is saying in the speech throughout the whole thing. This seems to be like a watered down version of what happened. Now, obviously, she's not going to get up there and talk about, I was horrible, I was this, I was that, right? You know, just like that, where she's like, I went unchecked, I banished whoever didn't want to have anything to do with it. How exactly did that play out, though? It's very easy to be like, well, I just banished them, as opposed to the torturous behavior that she put people through, or treatment that she put people through. Because remember, she's going to play this off like this is Jodi and da-da-da-da-da. But there's so much evidence and video evidence of very questionable behavior before Jodi came into the picture.
I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability.
Now, my theory's always been that she was going to throw Jodi under the bus. But again, I just come back to what about before Jodi was in the picture, right? One thing, too, to keep in mind as we listen to this is she very much talks in this removed way. Some of the vocabulary, some of the way she speaks almost as if third person, almost as if hovering over the scenario and placing herself in a victim position of this, right? Let's keep that in mind, like use that lens as we listen through to it. Now, Ruby will also say that she never received wages from Jodi or connections, the website, that business they were doing together, whatever, and that Jodi was employed by her as her son's counselor. But again, just as much as she distances herself, she says that she wants to accept accountability for her choices and not cast blame. But then she does this.
It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
Okay, so this part. I take full accountability and blame. I don't want to place blame, all this type of stuff. Now, the whole time she says that, we're pointing fingers at Jodi this whole time. It's my preference that I serve a prison sentence. That's exactly the vibe this gives. Because I'm wondering if the judge is thinking this, like, okay, really? Well, you're getting ready to, girl. This is the part where it feels like she's taking ownership. She's trying to take away the power from things and superficially, visually to everybody be like, it's my choice to go to prison. No one has that control over me, y'all. I choose. In fact, Judge, can I get 80 years, please? Thank you. You see what I'm saying? It has that smarmy vibe to it. It feels very manipulative. It feels very controlling. And I wonder if the judge can see through this, if he's like, oh God, another one of these. We've seen these 10 times a day, type of defendants. Now, once she kind of gets everything aligned to be like, it's my decision to go to prison. Y'all don't have nothing to do with that. She gives a thank you speech. And woo, does she. Buckle up.
Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Ivan City Police. Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pickuvit, Mike Pondoyo in Tobler, John Ward, D. Lewis, and Chief Flowers.
Now, I think it's great that she's doing this and thanking everybody and some of these people who definitely helped her children and whatnot. But then let's start listening to why she's thanking some of them.
You were the angels who came and saved my children. I especially want to thank Detective Jay Bate.
Again, what about before Jodi? She does this stuff with all of her language and things of that. You saved my children. This low key at times and high key at times, passing the buck off to Jodi. And when Jodi gets up there, we'll see what she has to say too in the same regard. But it's just that kind of language. You saved my children, which yes, they did, right? No doubt. But I don't think that it's authentic what Ruby is saying. I do not believe that it has truly sank into Ruby yet about her actions.
Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped heal my children. Jodi and I inflicted the injuries, not the hospital.
Like I said, she's so big on taking accountability, but also pointing her finger over at Jodi the whole time. And this hospital thing, she was like, it was us that did it, not the hospital. Remember, she already said this where she was like, I was convinced to think that hospitals were harming people and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. I will give her this. Her getting up there, because when we listen to what the judge has to say to Jodi, who does not do any of this, she's checking off the I's and crossing the T's in this, which is what it feels like. It doesn't feel authentic, and that's why it's like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm apologizing for all. She's covering all the bases.
Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president, Jim Nilsson, for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you.
I feel like when she said that last part, I was the one that was deceived, not you. It's like a personal reference letting him know. She probably told him that he had been deceived, right? She's so hardcore and all this stuff. And I personally think if she got out of prison and met another guru who told her this is how you live, she'd go right back to it. It just seems to be some people just are those type people, right? And she's also going to think the prosecutors and their clerks and the person who sweeps the floor, all this type of stuff, to all the people that are putting her in prison. She'll think her own attorney, she'll think neighbors, friends, family, you name it.
Nieces, nephews, and neighbors, you all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away.
She frames it so innocently, like, I pushed you away. But again, if you look back over the videos of her, you see how cocky and arrogant she was. I can only imagine how she treated these people during this moment. Now, this isn't to say that somebody can't have their redemption and whatnot, but how far gone she was, this doesn't just happen in a few months. She's speaking, and I guess that's the way to say it now that I've taught myself silly and taught her myself talking. She's speaking about stuff that at the end of 10 years or 20, wherever, a long period of time's gone by, I would hope and expect this stuff to come through and feel more authentic. But it's like she's saying this stuff before it's been earned, if that makes sense. Now, she's also going to thank her parents and make note that while her parents offered her unconditional love, all she offered them was contempt. Now, she will make reference to her siblings and, of course, the Bible.
My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I've dragged your families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as the prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented.
What speech like this isn't complete without referencing oneself into the Bible? I mean, come on. Now she'll finally make her way to Kevin, her estranged husband, ex-husband at this point probably, and children. Now here's what I'm talking about when I say authentic or whatever. Those were the first two people, first and foremost, the children, then Kevin, that I wanted to hear in this plethora of speech. But it was all this posturing, and that's another word for this, posturing, that I feel like. It was all this posturing. Hi, I've prepared a little speech for today's ceremony. I've never won an award like this of 80 years in prison. Now, I'm not saying she got 80 years. I'm just being facetious there. But as opposed to immediately starting off and speaking from the heart, put the paper down and let's talk directly to your children, and then to Kevin.
I was the mama duck who was consistently rowing you to safety. I can see now over the past 4 years I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would never launch you into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented, but I believed dark was light and light was wrong.
The mama duck thing, I was like, cannot roll my eyes hard enough at that. This was cringe. This hurt right here. This hurt. Okay, this was cringy. I was a mama duck, but the undercurrent was so strong. I'm like, again, it's not from the heart. It feels so rehearsed. So rehearsed. Now she'll finally start rounding this out, because I've just picked segments of it out, y'all. It kept going on and on. But she'll round this back out to thanking the judge. Now, in her thanking the judge, she's going to, again, take ownership of wanting to go to prison, wanting to go there for a long time, the whole 9 yards. She literally just tries to own this. And it's so interesting to me, and we'll talk about it here in a minute at the end of the video, but just the psychological dynamic of that. Because, again, I don't believe that that's true. I believe that she's trying to save face. I think she's still very much a person who cares about image, who cares about those type things, and that there is a lot of that going on, and the posturing that we're seeing is to do just that. But let's go ahead and hear what the old judge had to say after all that.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15 year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that that consecutive sentences are appropriate.
Amen, Judge. As he should. The consecutive, I mean, really it came down to, is it going to be consecutive, concurrent, or whatever? And so to me, I mean, again, it just expresses the heinous nature of these crimes and the severity of them by doing the consecutive sentences. So, I mean, they're going to be in there for a minute, right? Now, let's go ahead and switch on over to Jodi. There's a very different vibe with her. She looks very uncomfortable, and her lawyer does much of the talking.
She has accepted responsibility in this case. She has entered into this plea agreement with a stipulated sentence of 4 consecutive sentences. She did that at the time she entered into the plea agreement, knowing that that would be the court's order. She is before the court today, knowing that that will be the court's order, and she fully accepts that.
She looks so lost. Now, even though the lawyer's like, she accepts responsibility, all this type of stuff, the judge is going to circle back around to something that the lawyer said in his opening little speech directed towards the judge.
Mr. Terry, you suggested that there are 2 sides to every case. I generally agree with you. Ms. Hildebrandt didn't make a statement to AP&P in the course of the pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read, Your Honor.
Okay.
And
All right.
Now, you can tell that the judge is giving her total side eye. Now, keep this in mind. Remember Ruby Frankie? Like, the judge didn't say much to her at all. Like, he literally was just like, here's the sentence, right? So, this is the beginning of this. So, let's listen to what Jodi has to say, and then let's listen to how the judge continues on.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them.
Sure, Jodi. She didn't want to go to trial because she knew if those kids got on that stand, they would have plethoras of stories to tell that would put her and Ruby behind bars for the rest of their lives, right? So they would have been morons to have taken this to trial and had all the salacious, horrifying evidence come up on stand at the hands of their kids. Again, I do not believe for one second that the children's welfare and not testifying was at the front of there. After the stuff that they did, making kids jump into cactus. Are you crazy? Absolutely not.
My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
And that's all she had to say in comparison to Ruby over here. It's like these 2 massive personality disorders just playing out in their different ways for us. And it's interesting in that way, but just like, what? But then the attorney was like, if you didn't think that she made it bad enough, the attorney was like, hold my beer. Let me keep talking.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor, I knew that whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
This is going to fall under the category of, trust me, bro, she's sincere. Okay? When your attorney has to pinky promise the judge that you mean what you say, not a good look.
Does Ms. Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie, that she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
Again, notice that the judge did not ask these questions of Ruby. And so here's the thing. Even though I don't think that, or I don't personally believe that Ruby was very sincere, she, again, covered all the bases. So the judge didn't have much else to say. But with Jodi, there's this level of like, I love the kids, okay? I don't want them to get hurt anymore, okay? And the judge is just like, does she understand? Because there's way more that went on with Jodi, okay? Way more. And so you're going to be able to tell when in a minute when he says a couple of things that can lead you to think what she probably was like in the very beginning of this situation. But again, this feels even more inauthentic because she's just, or it's probably more authentic because she just acts so removed, and that's probably how she really is, right? As opposed to just trying to dress everything up like Ruby did.
Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children.
I mean, amen, Judge. I mean, he's in such a very nice, calm way. He's just letting her know, it's like, look at the position she was in and the self-appointed titles that she gave herself, and then the behavior that she did to the children. I mean, there's no excuse for it. And then if you look at all the other victims of people that she's been horrible to in her lifetime, I mean, come on.
What happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them frankly seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate.
Okay, so essentially the same sentence. However, let's get into some of my thoughts. First of all, I like that he said this type of stuff to her at the end, because I think that this shows that he doesn't believe that she gets it, right? Whereas he might be like, okay, Ruby's on the right path, whether he believes she's authentic or not. Yeah, but there's none of this that came from her. Now, she didn't speak to anyone. She's just been very much throughout this whole thing. Whereas we see Ruby trying to be like, I'm going to say I want to go to prison. I'm going to say I want to be in there for a really long time. You know, type attitude. And Jodi's over here just, huh? Are we getting canteen today? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like nothing going on there, to the point where it's like, hello? Are we still blaming the kids for what we did to them? And just curious. You know, the kind of a vibe, and the lawyer's not helping, but I think he probably only worked with what he has, right? I think when it comes down to sentencing, because remember, they still never gave us years and stuff like that. So we're still waiting for that to come through. We know they're both going to serve these consecutive sentences. I think Jodi will serve a longer sentence. I think that Ruby will get I don't think she's going to get slapped on the hand. Okay, at first I did, but I don't think she's going to get a slap on the hand. I think they're going to get hefty prison sentences. And I think Jodi will get whatever the maximum could be. I think she's going to be away for a long time because she had so many other people behind. Think of all these people that came forward talking about she destroyed our family. You know, with all this stuff. She pivoted herself to be in this pretend leadership role. You know, as this pretend life coach or whatever cringy title she gave herself, and then victimized all these people, and at the heart of it, children, right? I mean, her own family doesn't talk to her. It's like, this is no surprise. So I think she's going to get a stiffer sentence. I'm curious to know what you think as well. Again, I've already said 100 times, I don't believe Ruby was sincere whatsoever. I think in time, some of what she said might sink in a little bit more in the gravity of it, because obviously she's been locked up, but not for that long. I think Jodi is just a broken soul who will never get it, and would do, I think they both, if they got out tomorrow or next month, would do the same thing. You know, whatever the same thing in that capacity is, where they're Jodi, you know, goes out and victimizes all these people, and Ruby follows the next guru and then does whatever they tell her to do, even if it's, you know, abusing her kids, that type situation. So we are going to wait patiently to see exactly what the sentence is, but again, I think that they are going to be away for a very long time. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you still are watching, I greatly appreciate it. And that's it. I would usually at this point, I say until next time. Roscoe wants you to throw sofas down there, but he's not back there. So you know what? I appreciate you watching. Go on, throw some sofas down there. That way Roscoe can go visit them from home, and I'll meet him down there, and we'll talk amongst the comment section. And until we do, we'll meet down there and talk in the comment section. we'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.